Hello and welcome. My name is Jennilee Toner, the author of The Perfect Chaturanga, a comprehensive guide to the human body through the practice of Vinyasa Flow Yoga. Thank you for coming today. We're going to practice a perfect Chaturanga Vinyasa flow. For this practice, you need a few props. I'm actually sitting on a blanket, and that might make you feel a little bit more comfortable as we sit and do some breath work. I also have a bolster for later on for some chest-heart opening. 2 blocks, because we're going to start creating some shapes in our bodies. We have 2 blocks. Also a strap. We'll use a strap for some work today. And I also brought 2 weights because I'm going to show a little weight work just for people whose wrists might be sensitive or sore or just want to get off their wrists for a little bit in the practice. So I brought some weights today. And they're 5-pound weights. Usually you want to do 5 to 8 pounders because you want to be able to get your fingertips underneath the weights. Okay? We're going to start our practice seated, so find a comfortable seat, whether you're sitting cross-legged like I am in Sukhasana, easy pose, or if you would like to actually kneel and have the bolster tucked up underneath you if that's more comfortable for you. Feel free to straighten out a leg anytime, and just do it mindfully, with awareness, moving in and out of poses slowly and quite mindfully. I love that word, mindfully, today. We're going to start by focusing the mind on the breath. You're going to get a nice straight, strong spine. You can do a few shoulder rolls to release any tension into the neck and through the face. And then you're going to close your eyes. All your awareness is on your breath as it comes in and out through the nose and as it comes up and down your nasal passageways. Your mouth is closed, but your teeth is slightly separated. And you want to rest your tongue behind your 2 top front teeth. And this will relax the jaw, the muscles of the jaw. You're landing here on the mat, breathing, and focusing your mind on your breath so the mind can be connected to the body via the breath. At the back of your throat, there's a swirling sensation as you slightly constrict the back of your throat. And this will allow you to lengthen the breath. As the breath comes in, you'll notice that the breath gets longer and deeper, and there's a slowness to the breath. Your chest will rise and fall as you breathe. And your ribs will widen and narrow as you breathe. And your belly expands on the inhale, contracts on the exhale. All of this is happening. The body is responding to your breath. And really, your whole body expands and contracts. Just like everything in the universe, expanding and contracting, the rising and the falling. Take a few breaths more just to really connect to that. That inside your body, that's what's happening. There's such a pulsation of life. If you want to practice safe yoga, the foundation is the breath. If you want to navigate through life safely, it's with the breath. Because the breath wants to move you, wants to support you. So we connect to the qualities of breath. The upward quality on the inhale and the expansiveness on the inhale. And the downward quality of the exhale and the contractiveness, the squeezing, the releasing on the exhale. So up your spinal column, get a little taller in your next inhale. Expand a little bit more through the chest and the lungs. And on the exhale, go downward, draw your navel in. Feel yourself rooting, grounding, and squeezing, massaging. And we're going to add a layer on top of that. So you're still going to do the inhale up and expansiveness, and you'll pause. And then you're going to exhale down, root down, ground, draw inward, and pause. So there's going to be a pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. And between the out-breath and the in-breath. And you're going to take a moment just to be in that pause. No doing, just being. And in that pause, we're going to layer Mula Bandha. We're going to take the muscle fibers that sling across our pelvic floor. We're going to draw them in, and then we're going to draw them upward. It's a gentle, gentle, subtle activation in towards midline and up. You can do that in the pauses. So in the pause between the inhale, before you exhale, you're getting nice and tall and lifted in expansiveness, you're going to actually engage the pelvic floor muscles in a pause in that lift. And then on the exhale, you relax that sensation, release, root, ground on the exhale like you've been doing, right? Soften. And at the bottom of the exhale, let's pause. and engage Mula Bandha again. So you can feel like there's this lift up inside your body. Release that lift, and then go back to the inhale. Inhale completely and fully, express yourself here on the mat. Just puff up your body with breath. And at the top of the inhale, again, you're going to do the pause. And this will be a subtle sensation of the pelvic floor, the sling of muscles in and up. Then you release that and exhale down. So you can do that for a few more rounds. Really engaging Mula Bandha, your root block, holding breath in and feeling light. And then when breath goes out, you're still going to retain the sensation of being light. So that's what we're kind of working with here, is the lightness of being that Mula Bandha can actually really support. So we can be lighter on our joints in our practice, lighter on this earth as we move. Now the next time you exhale and you release, just release naturally. Come back to the natural breathing in and out through the nose, the nasal passageways, feel the chest, the ribs, the belly. And then you can flutter your eyes open as we begin to start doing some movement. But we're going to support our movement with our breath. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to reach for your strap. You're going to take the strap here, unwind it if it was in a rounded circle. And you want to hold on to if there's a metal piece, because it's always nice for the metal pieces not to clang on the ground. Okay, so whatever that metal or plastic piece, you can just wrap your hand around it. And you're going to go nice and wide. Before we do anything, let's warm up our joints. So we're going to take a moment here to warm up the shoulder girdle, and we're going to think about the synovial fluid in there. We're going to lubricate. So we're going to lubricate inside the joint capsules. And on the inhale, you're going to bring the strap all the way up. And you're going to feel a nice expansiveness around the rib cage too. On the exhale, draw your chin to your chest. As you draw your shoulder blades behind you, take care. You might need to go wider with the strap, and even might need to slightly bend your elbows. And then you're going to draw the arms all the way down your back. So you're going to feel the shoulder blades sliding down your back. On your inhale, again, lift the arms up overhead, lifting up nice and high, expanding. And on the exhale, you can draw your navel in as you round slightly. And instead of just going straight down, we're going to pull the elbows like you're squeezing a big beach ball in front of you. You're going to wake up your pectorals, armpits, hollows, your serratus anterior is going to work as you wrap your shoulder blades around your back. On your inhale, go back to the wide V, V for victory up here. And on the exhale, shoulder blades draw together, strengthening the rhomboids, and sliding the shoulder blades down your back space with your lower trapezius. These are all really great Chaturanga muscles that we're working with, up dog and down dog too. Inhale the arms skyward, but draw your shoulders down, get lots of space between your ears and your shoulders. And exhale again, like you're squeezing a big beach ball, palms towards each other, and you're going to turn your elbows towards each other as we start to wake up shoulder girdle rotator cuff muscles, infraspinatus. A couple more times. Let's go inhaling up. I'm actually bringing my strap a little bit closer because I have a little bit more range of motion right now because I'm warming up in the joints. Exhale, draw the shoulder blades down the back. From tail to crown, tail to fingertips, I'm inhaling, lifting and expanding. And then exhale, I'm going to squeeze, draw my navel to my spine, squeeze like there's a big beach ball in front of me, and press inward towards midline. Good. One more time with ease, listening to the body as it warms up here on the mat. Where can you get a little stronger? Where can you get a little softer? Those are always the questions you want to ask. So I want to be able to hold poses with ease, right? So where can I get stronger? And where can I get softer? Always good questions. Now, after next time you exhale, you can release the strap to the side. We'll use this a little later. Now you can take your block and put it right into your lap. And go the bit of the wide way, the long way. And take your elbows and hug the block with your palms skyward. So you can see that right into the palms of your hands. You're rounding forward, so you're engaging the abdominal muscles here that are great for down dog, okay? But then we're gonna wake up our up dog muscles. So first you hug the elbows in, great for Chaturanga, and then you send the elbows forward. The moment you went forward with your elbows and your ribs, you begin to wake up the extensors of your back. Those are your up dog muscles. You're gonna send your elbows forward and up as you stack the bones of your spine. Pull the upper arm bones back into their sockets for joint integration, and then slide the shoulder blades down your back. The fronts of your shoulders are getting a little stronger, and they're great plank muscles, your anterior deltoids. Hugging your elbows into the block, great for infraspinatus, Chaturanga muscles. Let's take a moment to pulse. Just pulse the block up and down a few times. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Begin to wake up muscles here, feels good. Creating some heat in the body. And then you hold the block up. Now draw your navel to your spine because we want to round down, waking up the front body muscles just like we did before in flexion, great for down dog. Now we're going to really take a hold of the block and send the palms to the floor this time. Now this is always a good test of, not even a test, but just a noticing of what's going on in the lower arm bones. Okay, how's your rotation below the elbow? Okay, some people, their thumbs stick up a little bit more, and some people get their palms towards the floor flat. Again, we're going to send the block forward, waking up the back muscles, sending the ribs forward and up. Once you're upright, you're going to take the upper arm bones back into their sockets and slide the shoulder blades down your back with your lower trapezius. Okay, send the palms forward, keep hugging the block with your elbows. That energy is going to actually come from your shoulder blades because you're doing a little external rotation in your upper arm bones. And then we'll pulse again to wake up the fronts of the shoulders. Getting ready for our planks and our chaturangas. Hold the block up, and on an exhale, draw the navel in and curl on down in flexion. And then you stack the bones of your spine as the last thing to lift, even do a shoulder roll, and put the block to the side. We're going to do the same action here, but without the block. And this, I'm going to really point out the muscles that we're strengthening, because we're going to do a few different exercises to wake up and activate these muscles. Your pectorals here, okay, your chest muscles, they get really tight a lot from what we do for work or we do for driving. You know, we work, we at the computer or drive. A lot of times we find ourselves in this shape. Even what we do for play, we might get on a bike or we might cycle. We find ourselves in this shape a lot. So even though these can be tight on us, we still want them to be pretty strong, although we're going to do some opening later with the bolster so they're nice and open and still strong. Now, a lot of the muscles we do want to wake up are going to come around the rib cage. So you actually, when we do this work here, we're going to work our infraspinatus, and that comes from your shoulder blade. Then we're going to use our serratus that's going to take the shoulder blade and wrap it around your back. So these are going to be the muscles that we're going to really wake up with this next exercise. Okay? So pectorals will fire up too, and then we're working the serratus and the infraspinatus here. And the more you draw your shoulder blade down your back, the more you'll be working your lower trapezius as well. All right, so we're going to bring our elbows up. I'm going to put one hand on the inside of the elbow, and you'll notice that you have 90 degrees at your elbows, this L shape. And we're going to be working a lot with L shapes because that's what we want to see when we do Chaturanga. So you're going to start that process here. You might notice that one elbow wants to hang down. Let's see if we can get that elbow up. Shoulders back and down, the neck is long, okay? And your abdominals are supporting your spine here. We're going to press our hand into our elbow and our elbow into our hand. About 30 to 50% of our own strength for about a 5 count. I'm going to do the counting. So you're going to press and you're going to press. And we're going to wake up these muscles here. All right? Get ready and press for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Make sure you're bringing your awareness to your outer rib cage. Get ready again and press for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Do a nice shoulder roll, get your neck a little longer, your spine a little straighter, right? We'll do it one more time. We're going to press, press, press for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Good. Do any movement that might feel good, all right? Like joints, muscles, ligaments, tendons, joints. And then we're going to go to the other side. Okay, so really bring your awareness to the outer rib cage as we take the shoulder blade and wrap it from inner to outer, from spine to outer ribs, from medial to lateral. All right, now maybe, again, you might notice that one elbow wants to lower down. So we're looking at how tight or how weak we are in our internal, external rotators in our shoulder. Okay, so we're gonna be up here. Shoulders back and down, spine is long. Get ready to press for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Okay, set yourself up and get ready to press again for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Remember, pectorals, serratus, infraspinatus, lower trapezius. Let's do it one more time. Get ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Very good. So again, some motion that works good, internal, external rotation. Let that trickle out to your wrists. You can even rotate your wrists. Get them ready, the synovial fluid in those joints right there. Thumbs and fingers ready for weight bearing. All right. With your hands back on your knees, we're going to actually start to come onto all fours, so you can shift away from whatever you're sitting on. Move that to the side. And you're going to come onto all fours and bone stack your shoulders right on top of your wrists. It's really nice. I'm going to actually face you for a second so you can see that it's nice to get the outer deltoid, the shoulder, above the outer wrist bone. And this is actually your ulna bone, the distal end. So this shape here above this shape here. And then you can think about stacking one bone on top of these two lower bones and stacking on top of your carpal bones. So once you do that, you'll spread your fingers wide, and you're going to really grip with the fingers and the knuckles and get a little puff of air right underneath your palms. That's called Hasta Bandha. Okay, so you really want to have that little puff of air as you draw the energy up into your body, lifting up through the wrists and up off the elbows. So we don't want to let gravity pull us down so much. We actually want to draw up against gravity. Good, and then your hips are directly over your kneecaps. You do a few cat-cows where you dip your belly on the inhale, sticking your tailbone up, lift your chest, and then lift your chin. Here's your inhale. On the exhale, start with your tailbone. Round your spine as you draw your navel up and in. Dome across your upper back, shoulder blades apart, and then your chin will come towards your chest. Inhale, start with your tailbone, and really walk through each and every bone of your spine. Starting with your tailbone on the inhale and the exhale, and the head will end, that will be the finishing of the movement, is the head. Aware of your breath as your breath moves along your spinal column. This might slow down the movement because you're so aware of breath and how the tailbone will initiate and the head will end the movement. So do that a few times, warming up the axis of your being. You're warming up your spinal column and taking your ribs and your chest bone with it. Spine, skull, sternum, and ribs. That's your axial skeleton. One more exhale to round. Press the earth away. Draw the energy up through your palms. Spread your shoulder blades apart. And then inhale, neutral spine. We're going to add a layer onto that. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually take a block and put a block between your knees or between your thighs, depending on how wide the block is. What you do want is that you want your kneecaps to be right underneath your hip sockets, okay? So we wouldn't want to be wide, or if you had a tiny, tiny little block, we wouldn't want to be too close. We actually want the knees to be right underneath the hips. So shift your block accordingly to get that to happen. And then by doing that, we're going to wake up the inner leg lines. And you got to think, this is going to help with your upward facing dog. So from arches of your feet to the knees, knees to the groin, we're really waking up inside, right? Then we can go all the way up our spinal column. So here we are, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Let's curl the toes under to wake up the feet. This is going to be your inhale as you dip your belly, you're in your cow. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone under, you're going to squeeze your block. And you're going to lift your knees about an inch or two off the floor and go into your cat. Lower your knees down, soften your feet, inhaling, dipping your belly, and lifting your chin. Now keep your feet where they are, but tuck your tailbone under again. Squeeze the block, and then you can press into the tops of your feet to prepare for up dog feet, rounding your spine here. Lower your knees, dip your belly, coming back into cow. Curl your toes under. So you do that a few more times in either direction. So you just added a layer, a level to your cat and cow. Waking up the inner leg lines. Mula Bandha, draw the muscles up through your pelvic floor. Draw your navel up and in. That's Uddiyana Bandha, your upward flying lock. A little lighter on this earth we are. So in either direction, and you're working the feet and the ankles, warming them up for the transition from Chaturanga to up dog to down dog. And maybe one more in either direction. Make sure to hug the block, wake up the inner leg lines, Mula Bandha, drawing the navel up and in, carving underneath the diaphragm, underneath the rib cage for Uddiyana Bandha. And when you draw your chin to your chest like that, you're also waking up and activating Jalandhara Bandha through the throat.
So last one, preparing the feet as the toes point back for upward facing dog, stretching the tops of the feet and the shins. And coming back to flat tabletop. You'll take the block away, separate your knees apart, big toes touching for child's pose. A nice little addition to child's pose that can feel really good. So if you take the block and you take your knuckles over the block as if you're hanging from a ledge, and then when you find your child's pose, you might get a longer length up through the side body, which is a nice prep for lengthening for downward facing dog. So it's a great latissimus dorsi stretch there. Allowing your hips to settle to your heels. Forehead gently lands on the mat. If this is uncomfortable in any way, you could always stack your fists and put your fists on top of each other and then forehead on your fists. Either variation. And as you slide your hands by your knees, let your hips be on your heels and take a moment to roll up, bringing awareness to the front of your sacrum, front of your spine, back of your spine as you stack up the bones. Let your head be the last thing to lift, and then do a shoulder roll. You'll walk forward, come back onto all fours with your knees underneath your hips. Let's stay with some toe yoga. Again, we're waking up the feet with transitions, chaturanga to up dog, and then back into downward facing dog. So from tabletop position here, okay, you want to curl just one set of toes under, not two, just one set. And we're going to soften the back of the knee as we straighten the leg. And we're going to scrub our toes back, all 5 mounds, without moving the hips. So you don't want to move the hips at all. Keep pressing through the toes, roll through the toes, and then draw your knee back underneath your hip. Okay, and then you do the other one. So really what you want to do is press through the mounds until one toe at a time peels off the mat. And then I can draw my knee back underneath my hip. So you can do that a few times either side, right? Curling your toes under, and just try to keep the mounds of the toes on the floor as long as possible. And then press the toes, peel each and every toe off the mat, and then draw the knee in. So after you've warmed your toes up on either side a few times, we're going to curl both sets of toes under and press back into downward facing dog, lifting our hips up in the air and shifting our hips back. Now you might need to bend your knees if your hamstrings are tight, and you can always walk your feet back a little bit more for that. And you can pedal, bend, just to warm up the calves and the hamstrings behind you. Come onto both sets of toes, lower both heels. One at a time or both at the same time. Downward facing dog is an inverted V pose. So your hips are nice and high in the air. So feel free to, it's a hint of the hips. So if you ever need to bend your knees, you can bend your knees. No worries there. It's not, we don't want to sacrifice any muscles just to create the shape. But you want your hips a little bit, definitely higher than your chest, higher than your heart, higher than your head. When you come to plank, because I like to actually come to down dog after I set myself up in a good plank. And again, I want to look for my outer deltoids over my outer wrist bones there, spreading the fingers. And I have the same space. I'm going to take a moment to put a knee down. The same space here on my left hand is over here on my right hand. I'm going to seek some balance here on the mat. And I find my plank, shoulders over wrists, heels a little higher over the toes, and I feel my front body is really active. Then I'm going to hinge my hips and press back to down dog. And this down dog for me is a little longer. I'm one of those people that likes a short down dog for my hamstring stretch. But if I get into a long down dog, I'm really actually activating a little more my upper body. I'm actually asking my body to get a little stronger up through the hands and the arms and the shoulders. Also a longer dog, when I come out through plank, I don't have to move my feet and my hands, because I'm usually one of those people that wiggles the feet back because I like a close down dog. So a few times you can work yourself back and forth from down dog to plank, drawing the shoulders away from your ears, lifting the kneecaps up, lifting the hips high. And eventually we're going to come to plank, and we're going to let our knees kiss the floor, and we're going to lie down, bringing our elbows right by our sides. I'm going to scoot on back a little bit. And we're going to actually take a moment to go into sphinx pose. Sphinx pose is a great prep for even chaturanga, up dog. It actually starts to wake up the lengthening process in the spine. The lengthening from pubic bone to chin, front body, strengthening and lengthening in the back body. So here I'd like my hips to be right in line with my knees and my toes. I'm gonna press my toes down on the mat as my kneecaps lift. My elbows are directly underneath my armpits, and I can see I'm creating the L shapes at the elbow creases that I need for Chaturanga Dandasana. I'm gonna spread my fingers wide, and I'm gonna draw my elbows back, shoulders away from my ears, and I'm gonna try to send my ribs and my chest bone forward. So I'm nice and actively toning my back body, preparing for Cobra and upward facing dog down here with the legs by pressing into the feet and lifting the kneecaps up, and a gentle toning of the buttocks, not so much clenching the buttocks, but toning. My elbows draw back, I pull at the mat here to send my ribs forward and up. And I'm really enjoying lengthening, strength and length, okay? Tractioning out and creating space, lower back, mid back, upper back, and even my neck. And from pubic bone to chin, the front body's getting a nice stretch. And then I wing out my elbows and lie down on an exhale. As I slide my hands underneath my shoulders, or really even nipple line or by the rib cage, I press up through tabletop, curl the toes under, lift your hips, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, let's go through plank again, shoulders over wrists, and I'm really active in the front of my body, my shins and my thighs. My tail is to the back. I'm gonna take a moment to go back and forth over my toes, right? Toe yoga some more. And then I'm gonna shift myself forward, kiss the knees to the ground, point the toes. I'm gonna send my chest forward as I pull my elbows and shoulders back. And I'm actually gonna try to create a little bit more of the 90-degree angle at my elbows, preparing for Chaturanga eventually. And then I'm gonna lie all the way down. From here, I'm gonna work on Cobra, Bhujangasana. I'm gonna have my hands underneath my shoulders, drawing my elbows back. So you can actually feel that scrubbing action from Sphinx. My feet are on the ground, my kneecaps are lifted, my tailbone's heading back, and then my elbows and my shoulders are gonna head back too. And then I'm gonna send my ribs and my chest bone forward and up. So I can feel I'm actually still going for traction. I'm going for length. Cobra's about length, then strength. Right? My elbows are in, rolling the shoulders back. I'm lifting, right? Using my back strength and my heart opening skills to send my chest forward and up. Cobra pose. Going for length one more time, strength, and then lying all the way down. Winging out my elbows. I can always make a pillow to rest. To come out of it, remember I can always go through tabletop, bring my hands by my shoulders there, press up, curl the toes under, lift the hips in the air, press back to downward facing dog. And then I'm going to lower down on my knees to prepare for Turbo Dog. Now, Turbo Dog from Forest Yoga, I give so much gratitude for this pose here because it wakes up a lot of the muscles that we need to make sure that we are integrating our joints for Chaturanga Dandasana. We're strengthening, we're activating. So we know we're bone stacking, we're going to work with the block there, but then we're going to take the muscles and really wake them up so we can support ourselves in Chaturanga Dandasana. We're going to start this process on all fours. So here we are, back to tabletop position, shoulders over wrist and hips over knees. And what we're going to do here is we're going to actually bend our elbows out to the sides. This is actually the action, I'm going to turn towards you again, that we don't want to see in Chaturanga. Okay, we don't want to see anything that looks like this in Chaturanga. But in order to wake up the muscles that we do want to see in Chaturanga, we're going to actually bring the elbows out. We're going to lower our elbows down, and then the hovering and the drawing inward, which is going to be your serratus anterior, your infraspinatus, right? The turning and the wrapping of the muscles that we want to wake up right now. So you bring your elbows out, you hover them, and then you draw inward. And then the tricep muscles will be the muscles that straighten up the elbows. So you do that a few times on all fours, right? You can even walk your hands slightly forward, and then think more of a down dog where you'll be more in flexion at the shoulder girdle. Elbows out, hover, draw in, straighten, right? So we can do that here on all fours. Because then we're going to do that same action in downward facing dog. I'll turn back to the side. All right. So from downward facing dog up into downward facing dog. I always like to try to check my plank because I'm a big wiggler of the feet because I like a closed dog. So I like to come into plank and then find my downward facing dog from there. And then from downward facing dog, turbo dog, I'll bring my elbows out wide, hover them about 1 or 2 inches, draw the elbows in as I wrap my shoulder blades around my upper back. Then straighten my elbows with my tricep muscles. So I can do this with bent knees too. Elbows out, hover, draw in as I wrap my shoulder blades around my outer ribs, and then lift my elbows with my triceps. So you can do about 5 of these. These are great to do every night before you go to bed for your homework, right? To get so strong and support your joints so you can float in your vinyasa flow, chaturanga, right? Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. And I'll do one more with the straight legs. Out, hover, pull in. This time I'm going to hover. I'm going to lower my elbows gently for a dolphin. Dolphin can have the bent knees as well. And from dolphin pose, I'm going to actually lift both elbows at the same time to come back into my downward facing dog. And lowering on your knees to release that. So good. 5 times every night before you go to bed. 5 turbo dogs. I'd like to take a moment here just to show anyone that might like to use the weights that we can actually do a lot of the same stuff with the weights, okay? So I'm gonna walk over here I actually have 5-pound weights here so that my knuckles can slide underneath, okay? I always find that's like 5 to 8 pounders work the best. And this is for anyone that doesn't really like to have the weight bearing on top of their wrist bones here, or they're having a hard time making that really flex state here. So what we're going to do is curl the fingers underneath the block, the weights, and then you could shift back to plank. So you can actually find a lot of your similar poses here. And even lower the knees like we did. And another great homework exercise is to do push-ups, right? So see how I can do the push-ups here on the weights, right? So I can have my hands flat on the floor, or my hands on the weights for that. Okay, and I can even have the weights where I can come all the way down, and I would prepare myself for cobra, maybe bring the weights to the sides, do the same thing that we did earlier, finding cobra, length and strength, right? And as I come back, maybe I'm okay to go into tabletop with some weight bearing, bring the weights back underneath, and then even find downward facing dog. So you can actually use the weights and go through your flow. Okay, so anyone that wants to do that can do that. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually transition our way into standing. So I'm going to show you how I like to do that coming into ragdoll. So go back to downward facing dog. And then you're going to bend your knees to look at your thumbs, because you're going to walk yourself forward towards your thumbs. Your feet could be, you're looking at your thumbs, but you actually want your feet right behind your hands, because nice hands width apart for ragdoll is good. Thumbs into elbow creases as you start to sway left and right, shifting around the 4 corners of your feet. Happy toes, always happy toes in life, right? I dare you to be unhappy when your toes are happy, so you wiggle your toes. Even in traffic, wiggle your toes. And I'm pressing in the mounds of the big toes, the mounds of the pinky toes, and both sides of the heels as I prepare for my standing practice. I'm bending my knees so I can drape over my thighs, supporting my whole spine with my thighs, and stretching long from tail to crown. Long, slow, deep breaths here, a few more. And then to come out of this, you can always put your hands on the floor, even climb your hands on your thighs as you bend your knees and you tuck your tail. You bring the awareness to the front of your sacrum, just start stacking the body. So you can always hang your arms down, front body, back body, and you start to stack all the bones. Your head's going to be the last thing to lift. For mountain pose, where your feet are hips width apart, hips, knees, ankles, and toes, and your thumbs are in front of your pinkies, your shoulders are over your wrists, your head is over your tail. You're just stacking all your bones in mountain pose. You can keep this feet hips width apart or step your feet together to begin. We're going to do some classical sun salutations, Surya Namaskar. And this is about really honoring the sun as it shines up in the sky, and the sun, the symbolic sun that shines from within our hearts. And it's actually a practice of gratitude, so grateful for all the teachers and all the experiences and all the life here on this earth. So much gratitude for being alive, cultivating inside you. For the first one, we're going to keep energy close. So we're going to hook the thumbs in front of the groin and then sweep the arms straight up overhead. So keeping the energy nice close to the midline. You can always bend your knees as you exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward. Inhale, lengthen and lift your spine. You're going to touch the floor by your toes, or you could touch your shins. Then you step your right foot back, right knee down. That'll happen on an exhale as you point your toes. And then inhale, lift your ribs, your shoulders, your fingertips up and over your head. Anjaneyasana. This is a nice pose of devotion. On your exhale, plant your hands. For the first two, we're actually going to step back to downward facing dog. Then shift forward to high plank on an inhale. You can shift forward to lower the knees. Draw the elbows back as the chest goes forward to lie all the way down. Cobra, remember, lengthen, strength, lifting up, drawing the elbows and shoulders back. And exhale, lie down to press back to downward facing dog, hinging at your hips. Your feet are hips width apart. You'll step your right foot to your right thumb, lowering your left knee down, point your toes. Anjaneyasana, sweep your arms, your head. That all happens on this big inhale. So much breath coming into the body. And then you'll touch the floor as your left foot steps forward to meet the front foot, either together or hips width apart. Inhale, lengthen and lift, fingertips by the toes or on your shins. You can even have your hands on your thighs. Exhale, fold forward. Let's keep the energy close. Hook the thumbs as you reach up to the ceiling, lengthening and lifting. Exhale, hands to the heart, home to the heart. One more time like that. Hook the thumbs, the non-dominant hook in front of your groin. Sweep your arms over your head. That's the inhale. Hinge at your hips. Remember, you can always bend your knees as you fold. Inhale to lengthen and lift. Create lots of space between the bones of your spine and draw your shoulders back. Exhale, step your left foot back and lower your left knee down. Point your toes. Inhale, arms overhead. Anjaneyasana, lift your ribs but pull the shoulders down and spread your fingers wide. Exhale, one more time, we'll go back to downward facing dog. So plant your hands and step back. Inhale, high plank. Shifting forward, knees down. Brush the elbows by your sides as you lie down. Cobra pose. Go for the length and the strength. A little bit more expression to the chest and the heart. Exhale, lie down, press back. Downward facing dog. Left foot stepping up towards the left thumb. Right knee down, point your toes. Arms over your head, inhale. Filling out the pose to your fingertips. Exhale, step your right foot to meet the left foot and fold. Inhale to reset. Long spine, sacrum into the ilium. Exhale, fold deeper. Hook your thumbs, reach for the ceiling, inhale. And hands to your heart, exhale. You can stay exactly like that, or you can spread your arms away from the midline, inhaling, big sun breath, big circle, connecting the earth to the sky in your own body. On the exhale, draw your shoulder blades together and fold forward. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale, right foot back, right knee down. Inhale, forward and up. Use the back muscles, the extensors to lift your ribs a little higher. And exhale, this time right into plank pose. Right into plank reset. Shifting forward, knees touch, point the toes. Draw the elbows back as you send the chest forward, lengthening to the crown of your head. Cobra pose. Stay with the length. Reset to press back, downward facing dog. Right foot to right thumb, stepping forward, left knee down, arms overhead, inhale. Folding forward, front of your mat space, exhale. Inhale to pause, lengthen and lift. Exhale, fold deeper. Either hook your thumbs or sweep your arms out wide, inhale, all the way up to standing. And exhale, hands to heart. Left side, sweep your arms out and up if you choose, really creating that sun breath. Draw your shoulder blades together, lead with the heart space, hinge, fold forward. Inhale, getting more length through the spinal column. And exhale, left foot steps back, left knee down. Sweep your arms over your head. Full expression here, really stretching bone to skin. Exhale, plank pose. Step straight back to plank and pause. Shift forward with your toe strength, knees down, draw the elbows back, lie down. Prepare for Cobra, Bhujangasana, roll the shoulders back and down. So good to stretch and open. Exhale, reset, press back, hinge at your hips, lift your hips up in the air. Left foot steps forward with ease. Lower your right knee down, soften your foot. Inhale. Where's your eyes? Gazes up or somewhere forward and up. And fold forward, front of your mat space. Step with intention. Right foot meets the left. Inhale, lengthen and lift. And exhale, fold. All the way up to standing. Inhale. And hands to heart. One more time, either side. I will speak in Sanskrit in breath cues only. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step back. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. Exhale. Knees down, lie down. Inhale, Bhujangasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Right foot forward, left knee down. That's inhaling all the way up into Anjaneyasana. Long, slow exhale, stepping forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Samastitihi, equal standing pose. One more time with the left side. Go for it. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. Exhale to plank. Bhujangasana, inhale. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, left foot forward, right knee down, Anjaneyasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Samastiti. So then we're going to start thinking about our Chaturanga from Tadasana. Tadasana, mountain pose. So many poses come from Tadasana. You know, the hips squared to the front, hips, knees, ankles, and toes are all in alignment. Head is directly over the tail. The shoulders are over the hips. The shoulders are over the wrists, the thumbs in front of the fingers. And you can actually rock back and forth and start to feel the muscles supporting the bone stacking of your body. So that eventually you can hold mountain with ease. All poses, right? Sthiram, Sukhanam, Asanam, holding the postures steady and full of ease. From mountain pose, we're going to lift our toes. So it's going to be much more active Tadasana. Lift your toes. That's going to activate the tops of your feet and your shin muscles. Then we're going to lift the kneecaps up with the quadriceps, the four muscles in the front of the thigh. We're going to lower our tailbone down, and that's going to engage the lower abdominal muscles. And we're going to take our front ribs and we're going to knit them into the back ribs, and that'll engage the upper abdominal muscles. The shoulders, we're going to slide them back and down. Really, the down is the lower trapezius. We want to make sure they're engaged in Chaturanga Dandasana. Then we're going to broaden across the collarbone, and that means we're going to broaden across the scapula. We're going to go long and wide. We're going to actually go wide out, but then pull the arms in with our latissimus. The latissimus pulls the arms into the body. And we're going to make sure we're not rolled in, that the elbows are by our sides, and we're waking up in for spinatus.
Your chin is parallel to the floor, so we don't want to lift the chin up. The chin is parallel to the floor. The back of the neck is long, but in Chaturanga, we will look up and forward as we shift forward, lower down for upward facing dog. But always keep the chin in mountain neck and chin area. We're gonna bend the elbows up by our sides, 90-degree angles. So think L shape on either side of your body. Palms will roll down, thumbs towards each other. And then you're gonna flex at the wrist and you're gonna try to really press the air away in front of you. Then you do all those cues again. You're gonna lift your toes, you're gonna lift your knees. You're gonna lower your tail towards the mat. That's gonna engage in here. Front ribs into back ribs, broaden across with the scapula and the shoulder blades, and that's gonna take your shoulder blades wide with serratus anterior onto your ribs. Then you're gonna pull the arms in. See if you can have little puffs of air underneath your armpits as you pull the arms in. Try not to collapse underneath your armpits. Elbows are in, wrists are flexed here, spread your fingers wide. Chin is parallel to the floor, but in Chaturanga, we want the eyes to look forward, but not with the chin. We don't want the chin to go forward, too much cervical neck compression back there. We want a long neck, and then the eyes will lift forward. This is Chaturanga. What we do often see is that the hands are up here, the elbows wing out, the pecs are doming, the butt's in the air, and there's usually a scared look on some people's face. So we try to want to not have this in Chaturanga at all. We also don't want this same shape with the belly forward in Chaturanga, okay? So we're gonna actually come through mountain pose and find this shape in Chaturanga and be able to hold it with ease. We're gonna do this with some block work first to find shape, then we'll use the strap to wake up our muscles. So get a hold of your 2 blocks. So you have your 2 blocks here, and they're set up one in front of the other, because one your chest bone's gonna land on, and one your belly's gonna land on. The heels of your hands are gonna come in line with the first block. You'll curl your toes under, press back to downward facing dog. Get the nice shoulders wrapping around your upper back, your neck is long, your hips are high, and at this point you might be able to really lengthen the backs of your hamstrings a little bit more by lifting up the kneecaps a little bit higher. Coming out into plank, we're gonna hold plank, and we do all the cues that we just did in Tadasana. Flexing the toes and the ankles, lifting the kneecaps with the quads, sending the tail to the back of the mat, front ribs into back ribs, armpit hollows, shoulders away from our ears, and our neck is long, chin parallel as if we were in mountain pose, but our eyes can look forward. We're gonna shift forward with our toe strength, draw our elbows back, and then we're gonna lie down right on our blocks. And we're gonna see if we have a 90-degree angle at our elbows, right? You can always get a friend to help you out with this. So the elbows are tucked in, the shoulders are back and down. I'm really firming up, my toes are flexed, my heels are lifted, kneecaps. I'm doing all those cues that I already found, but now I'm doing it with ease because I'm on top of the blocks. So you can always check to make sure these elbows, L shapes. Good, nice. And then from here, we've been going through tabletop to get up to down dog, but we could actually engage the muscles and press up through plank and press back to downward facing dog. So you guys try that a few times, coming forward, pulling the elbows back as you send the crown of your head to the front of the room, really making sure you can actually find the shapes of the elbows, L shapes. And then you could press up and back to downward facing dog. So that allows us to create the shape that we're looking for in Chaturanga, okay? The block stuff. You can also do this at night when you're doing your homework. You're doing your turbo dogs, maybe some push-ups. You can actually do this kind of stuff to get the blocks up. The next exercise, we're gonna use our strap. It's gonna be a loop and a tail, much like creating I like to say a 1980s belt. And I thought I was alone in that, but I think lots of us teachers call it a 1970s, 1980s belt where you loop through. And then from here, we're going to actually bring it above the elbows, okay? And again, we're gonna make sure we have the L shapes, and it's as if the elbows could come past the ribs. So this is a little bit tricky of going too
too close because we don't want to be in peacock elbows. We don't want the elbows in our gut, but we don't want our elbows wide where we're going to dip our ribs below our upper arms because we don't want to hang out in the fronts of our shoulders, or we don't want to hang out in our elbows either, okay? So you want to find where there's a sweet spot where as if the elbows could go beyond the ribs, but they're not, because we want to be able to hold ourselves up, okay, in Chaturanga. Once you find where you can be, you're going to actually turn to come through, bone stacking, shoulders over wrist, right? Going to go through a bit of a close down dog because you don't want to remove the, see my sliding a little bit, so it's above the elbow creases. Nice. Right? Because you want to go through plank. This is actually where we'd like to start this process, in plank. Because we're going to shift forward, head forward, but the elbows draw back so we can land, keep your toes nice and flexed, we can land in Chaturanga. All right? So we have the elbows, shoulders, the head of the humerus in line with the elbows. And I'm going to firm up the front of my body, draw my shoulders away from my ears, keep the neck long, eyes forward, spread the fingers, and I feel super light here on this earth. Like I could do and hold that for quite some time. This is great homework to do every night before you go to bed. Start with 20 seconds, 30 seconds of holding yourself parallel to the earth. Feel how strong you are in the front of your body, isometrically contracting to hover and support. And then you work your way up to 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes every night before you go to bed. And this will help you so much on your journey towards a perfect Chaturanga. I'll do it one more time. So I got the strap, right? Downward facing dog, it's kind of hard to keep that strap up, so you're gonna go through plank, right? And I'm gonna have my toes are gonna propel me forward. Now my head, my whole body's going forward, but then you wanna take the whole shoulder girdle and draw it back. Really activate the flexion of the toes and the shins and the knees and the tail. Front ribs into back ribs. My elbows are a little close because I have the strap, so I can't really have those armpit hollows I would like to have. But once I get ready to do my perfect Chaturanga, I will be able to have that. And then I'll press up and back to downward facing dog. And that's really, again, the strap kind of gets in the way. All right, I think now we're ready for a perfect Chaturanga. Finding your mountain pose, or you can sit your legs together for Samastitihi. So it's your choice. You're gonna bend your knees like you're sitting on a chair, hinging at your hips. Fingertips brush the floor maybe as you sweep them up into Utkatasana. This is known as fierce pose. The back muscle is strong, shoulders away from your ears. You're sitting back like you're sitting in a chair. Your toes are nice and happy. Here's your inhale, and on the exhale through heart space, let's hinge the hips and fold. Inhale, lengthen and lift. The first one, you always want to step back to plank. First Chaturanga. Shifting forward, draw the elbows back and come into your Chaturanga. Press your toes back as you roll over them for upward facing dog. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. And then you roll over your toes as you hinge at your hips, pressing back to downward facing dog. 5 breaths in downward facing dog. You're scanning your body, spreading your fingers, spreading your toes, broadening through the shoulders, lifting your hips a little bit higher in the air, hollowing out your belly on the exhales, right? Massaging your internal organs. Maybe the heels touch the floor, maybe they don't. After 5 exhales, you'll come up on your toes on an inhale. With no breath, you'll look at your thumbs because you're going to walk, step, or float your way to the top of your mat. Halfway lift on an inhale. You'll fold deep on an exhale. Bending your knees like you're sitting on a chair. Fingertips go forward and up. Use the extensor muscles here to lift your arms over your head. Stand up with your hands at your heart. We're adding on here. So you're going to bend your knees, take a seat, sweep your arms over your head on an inhale. Folding forward, hinge at your hips. Exhale. Inhale, lengthen and lift. This second one, you could step back to high plank, or you can find a spot to gaze in front of you. Send your heart and your eyes to that spot, maybe about a foot in front of your toes. Because when you bend your knees, you could always float back to low plank Chaturanga. Press the toes back for upward facing dog. Lift your hips high off the floor and pull back to downward facing dog. Right foot steps to right thumb as you lower back heel for warrior one. I have a 45-degree angle back there. And I shift my fingertips forward and up. Virabhadrasana 1. Draw the right thigh bone back as the left thigh bone internally rotates towards the front of the mat space. Tailbone heavy, ribs lifted, shoulders down, spread your fingers wide. On the exhale, as you plant your hands, the back heel can lift for internal rotation of the back thigh bone. Step back to plank. Shift forward, pull the elbows back, Chaturanga. Toes back as the shoulders roll up, back, and down. Hinge at your hips, lift your hips high, downward facing dog. Left foot to left thumb, step forward, spin your back foot down, preparing for Virabhadrasana 1. I am here, Warrior 1 says. Squaring off to whatever's in front of you. Draw the left thigh bone back, turn the right thigh forward. Tailbone heavy, ribs lift, shoulders down, spread your fingers. I am here, Virabhadrasana 1. On your exhale, plant your hands, the back heel will lift, finding plank pose, shift forward, lower down, hover, toes back, chest lifts up, upward facing. Pull it all back to downward facing dog for 5 breaths. Fingers are spread wide, shoulders are broad, hips are high in the air, kneecaps are lifted, abdominals are active, and you're listening to your breath. You're staring at a spot between your heels and your calves. You're meditating. On an inhale, come high on your toes. On an exhale, bend your knees, look at your thumbs. With no breath in your body, you're going to walk, step, or float all the way to the front of your mat. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale to fold deeper. Bend your knees, sit down like you're sitting in your chair. Utkatasana, inhale, lift your arms over your head. Exhale, hands to your heart space. We're going to add on a little creativeness to this last flow. As you bend your knees, take a seat. You'll sweep your arms over your head, using the back muscles, the extensor muscles to lift your rib cage up, and then draw your shoulders down. Take the shoulder blades down with your lower trapezius. Fierce pose. Really embrace it. Here as you inhale. And then hinge at your hips, fold forward. Exhale. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Now you step back to high plank like you did before, or Chaturanga Dandasana. You float back, hover low. You can either flip your feet if at this point, or if you haven't yet, if you'd like to flip your feet instead of rolling over your toes, lift your chest. And then pull it all back to downward facing dog. You're going to step your feet together for this last flow. Lift your right leg up, roll your right hip to the ceiling and press through your right heel. Try not to hang on your left shoulder though, so spread your fingers, broaden your shoulders, lift your hips higher. Then you can bend your right knee and open up through your hip a little bit more. You're going to square your hips to the floor and step all the way up to your right thumb. And you're going to prepare for Warrior 2. Your back foot parallels the back of your mat space or slight turn in. Look at your left fingertips and you're going to windmill your way up to Warrior 2 here. Finding that where your feet are wider than Warrior 1, your front knee is over your heel, you're opening your hips to the side. Check that your knee doesn't roll to the big toe. Keep it directly over your heel. And your arms are parallel to the floor. And you're looking out at your right middle finger. Make sure you have an arch in your left foot, and that'll wake up those inner leg lines we've been working with for upward facing dog. And shoulders down away from your ears. Keep your hip crease, but flip your right palm and exalt. Lift your right rib cage off your right hip crease. Here's your inhale. And on the exhale, as you windmill down, you'll lift your back heel, really spiral your way to the mat space. 3 or 4 legs for Chaturanga. Elbows pull back. Both feet will touch to upward facing dog. Pull it all back to downward facing dog. You can step your feet together and then lift your left leg up in the air. Stacking left hip on top of right, but press through your back heel. Try not to swing your leg behind you. Have one long line from hip to heel. Spread your fingers, broaden your shoulders, lift your hips a little higher, press through your back heel, and then you can bend your left knee. Rolling the hip a little higher to the ceiling. You're going to square your hips to the floor and step with ease all the way up to your left thumb. Right heel is going to pivot down, whether it's parallel to the back edge or slightly turned in. Right arm leads the way. You come up to Warrior 2. And you'll scan your body from your feet to the knees, tailbone, the hips, the spine, and then outward through your fingertips. Listening to your breath as it comes in and out through your nose. You'll keep the hip crease, but you'll flip your left palm, exalt. I love to call this rock star poses, but quite the celebration of the self. Stretching out from hip to ribs for the organs. So it's a celebration of your organs. Powering up, here's your inhale. On the exhale, you'll windmill down. You'll lift your back heel to spiral down to the mat. 3 or 4 legs for Chaturanga, your choice. Draw the elbows back, 90 degrees at the elbows. Up dog. Both feet on the floor. Lift your hips for downward facing dog. Press the earth away. Here, stay in down dog, or feel free to come to child's pose where we introduced this earlier in the practice. You could also feel free to come to dolphin pose, which is another great homework to do every night before you go to bed. Maybe some dolphin push-ups. Forward on the inhale, back on the exhale. Maybe that's what you're feeling like right now. You get some energy. You want to do something like that. Other people are still in down dog, they're just meditating. Looking at a spot between the feet and the heels. Some of you might be running in place. But for 5 breaths, what do you want to do in your practice right now? Then everyone's in downward facing dog. Up on the toes, inhale. Slight bend the knees, look at your thumbs, because it's your choice. Remember, you're going to walk, step, or you're going to float to the front of your mat space. I got halfway up, so I'm going to move up a little higher. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, take a seat like you're sitting on a chair. One more time, sweep up. I am here on this earth, I am fierce. And then stand up with your hands at your heart. Try not to move a muscle. Just land in your perfection as it just showed up on the mat. You don't have to fix it, you don't have to wiggle it, you don't have to wipe it. Just be in it. You can bend your knees, relax and release. And again, you can always rotate your wrists, thumbs and fingers, shake things out. We're actually going to do a balancing pose that's a great counter pose for Chaturanga. We start to do heart-opening poses in our practice, in our flow. So we're going to do dancer's pose, not Tadasana. It is Shiva as Lord Dancer. He's dancing life into being. He's the cosmic dancer. And we usually see him in a ring of fire as he really, and you can feel you might be heated right now, right? We're creating fire, we're creating heat. That's known as tapas. We're changing from the inside out, right? That cosmic change of life. And so we're going to celebrate that with dancer's pose. You're going to start with your hands on your hips. And I'm going to turn to the side view here. You're going to press down to the 4 corners of your right foot. So really root down, okay? Root down so we can lift up, of course. You're going to bend your left knee. You could always be on your big left toe and bend your left knee. And you're going to reach back. Some people are going to go for outer ankle. This is a great place to be, especially if you are tight through the pectoral muscles up in the chest. If you're someone that is not so tight here, you could actually turn your thumb to the back of the room and go in for the inner ankle or the arch of the foot. But that's going to add a little bit more length and depth in the pose for this part of your body. You have your right hand on your hip as you look forward, and you're going to square your hips to the side of your mat space or the front of your mat space. And then you bring the right arm up and over your head. I'm a big fan of spreading the fingers wide, shoulders away from your ears. Now before you do anything, let's take the knee behind us as we press the foot into our hand, creating an arc. And then in this arc, we're going to open up through the chest, right? Because a lot of times, Chaturanga can do the opposite for us, okay? Or what we do for work or play can do the opposite. So we're going to find this big celebration of the self, opening up the body. And then we're going to hinge forward. You can always keep a slight bend of the knee, or lift up the kneecap with your quadriceps as you hinge to fold forward. And you're not going to let your fingertips go below the eyebrows. So you're going to really reach out. Keep lifting the kneecap with the quads as you send the back toes behind you. You're going to reach and you're going to kick the toes to the ceiling. And you're going to celebrate yourself right here. And then you're going to come out of it ever so slowly. The right arm, as you release the left foot, the right arm's going to go up, back, and down. And we're going to go to the other side, hands on the hips. We're going to press down to the 4 corners of our left foot, bending the right knee. The arm is either going to go for the outer ankle, or we're going to choose to flip our thumb up, and the palm's going to go for the inner arch. Some people can go for the inner ankle or inner arch. Knees together, hips squared to the front of the mat. Let's lift our left arm up and over our head, spreading the fingers wide. Take the knee behind you. Press your foot into your hand and find your arc first. You don't even have to hinge forward. You can stay right here. It's such a beautiful variation of the pose. When you're ready, you lift your left kneecap skyward, hinge at your hip. The toes are going to come up and over your head as you reach somewhere beyond you, but always staying in line with the eyebrows so you don't dip down. And you want to look out through your fingertips. Whether your palm is to the floor, your thumb is up, reach. The toes are going to come up and over your head. And you're stretching your body, opening your body, strengthening, stretching, balancing, all at the same time. To come out of it, you slowly come out, retrace your steps, and bring the left arm up, back, and down. Hands to heart. Feel free to do that one more time either side. It's such a great pose for opening up the heart space in through the belly, in through the hips. It's a back bend, a forward bend, and a balancing pose, all at the same time. After we balance, let's make our way to the floor with one last salutation, one last bow, a big one, full of gratitude. Front of your mat space. To all of our teachers and all of our experiences, thank you for holding up a mirror and showing me a little bit more of myself. Thank you to all my teachers and all the experiences. So I'm thanking my life up to this point. Sweep your arms over your head, inhale. Big bow of gratitude, exhale. Halfway lift, inhale. And on this exhale, we're just going to do a half sun salutation. We're going to take a seat right on to the floor. So at the front of our mat space, taking a seat, knees are bent. Let's take a block, put the block right once again between the knees. I love doing stuff like this because it really wakes up from inner arches to inner knees, the leg lines, right? And this is always going to help with your chaturanga and up dog. And all the way inner thighs to the groin. And we're going to still strengthen that part of our body as we take a slow lowering down of 10, okay? So shoulders back and down. Lots of length, the rib cage is lifted. We're going to slowly lower down one vertebra at a time for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Slow it down 4. Like an elevate at the end, 3. Slow it down for 2. And then come all the way down for 1. You're going to slide your toes closer to your hips, and then we're going to bring the knees up, flexing the ankles. We'll stay with a little core work here. Bring your fingertips behind your head, thumbs by your ears. We're going to curl the upper body off the mat, the shoulders away from the ears, and we're going to tuck our tailbone under and lift our hips for 10, 9. Really working the lower abdominals here. 8. The upper abdominals are working as we lift our shoulder blades off the mat. 7. Nice and light with your fingertips. 6 on the exhale. These are exhales that are happening. We're squeezing. Come on, 4 more. Make sure you're squeezing the block for 3. Nice and active. We can do it. Coming into our power center for 2. And one more time, the front of our body super strong for 1. And release the hips, the head. You can bend your knees. We're going to take the block away, put the block on either side of our body, and then toe ball heel our feet to the floor. So good. Now we do a supported bridge. So we're going to tuck our tailbone under, still working with those lower abdominals to do that tuck. Then we're going to peel, and the back body strength is going to work. Sliding the block underneath our sacrum, okay? And the 5 fused bones at the base of your spine is your sacrum. You don't want to be in the lower back curve with the butt hanging over. Let's get it closer to the tailbone, that flatter part of your sacrum. You'll notice I'm not looking at the camera because I'm not going to look left or right. I'm only looking up at the ceiling with a neutral neck. Or I could actually look at my belly and watch my belly expand and contract. My chest, ribs too, as I breathe. My shoulder blades are drawing together. My chest is puffed up, my palms to the floor. This is a great place to settle as you open up the front of the body, opening up after the abdominal work. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you can actually lift your hips off the block, slide the block away, and lower down 1 vertebra at a time. Letting the sacrum be the last thing that lands. Here, we're going to come into a more unsupported, but supported with our hands, but it's a much more active bridge. The elbows are going to come by our sides, and we're going to draw our shoulder blades together, so puffing up the chest to set up successfully for our bridge. Once we are here, we're going to bring the arms down by our sides, palms to the floor. Tuck your tailbone under and lift your hips up. The shoulder blades are already together, so I don't have to scooch my hands underneath. I can actually just interlace, straighten my elbows, and lift my hips higher. I'm pressing down to the four corners of my feet, rooting down to lift up higher. My back body's super strong right here. Feels so good. To release, I'm going to release my arms back down to the mat. And one vertebra time at an exhale. So one vertebra, one bone at a time. My sacrum is going to be the last 5 to lower than the tail. So nice. So you can always do another bridge. Full wheelers could do full wheel. I'm a big fan of going onto the belly for Dhanurasana. So I'm going to straighten one leg, and I'm going to roll and straighten my one arm and roll over onto my belly. This is another back bend, but this back bend is great for opening up the chest and the shoulders like we did in dancer's pose. So it's also good counterposing for our chaturangas or our life up to this point. And it's also great for your digestive and your elimination system. So your digestion and your elimination systems. So here you're going to bend both knees and you're going to reach back for outer ankles or outer feet. And we're going to walk our knees a little closer together because the knees love to separate in this pose. Your belly button is on the floor, your lowest rib, your hip bones. But we're going to try to lift things beyond that point up in the air. So we're going to roll our shoulders back and down, draw our shoulder blades together. On an inhale, we're going to lift the ribs forward to the chin. You can stay on an exhale here. This is great work to do right here. On your next inhale, can you lift your thighs and your knees back and up, pressing your feet into your hands. Going higher on the inhales, staying to enjoy on the exhales. Going higher on the inhales. And again, staying and enjoying on the exhales. One more time, back body super strong as we lift up a little bit higher. And on the exhale, we're going to bring our heels to our buttocks for a nice quadricep thigh stretch. And then we'll release the legs down behind us. We can make a pillow and take a look to one side and just relax and just wag things out because that might feel really good. You can do that again, or feel free to do one hand, 1 foot at a time, right? You can do the half one and go here, right? And then switch sides. So if you'd like just to do half on either side, go for it. Or let's do it one more time. The floor bow, Dhanurasana, bending both knees, reaching back for your ankles. Roll the shoulders back and down, draw the shoulder blades together. The upper body lifts, the lower body lifts, and we're gonna lift up with our breath. Pressing our feet into our hands into our feet. And we're going to stretch the whole front of our body as we strengthen the whole back of the body. Lifting, breathing, stretching, strengthening the whole entire body here on the mat. One more inhale. And exhale, come down. Release gently, no slingshots. You can make a pillow. Take a look to the other side and wag everything out. With a neutral neck, your hands underneath your shoulders. It's nice at this point to go through tabletop position. Walk your knees up. There's a lot of back bending. So let's just take a kneeling position, zazen, allow our tail to come to our heels and have a nice neutral spine. And just notice how you feel on the mat. Body, mind, heart, and soul, how do you feel? And then we're going to take a moment to do some hip opening, and then we're going to rest and relax at the end of our practice. For this opening practice here, we're going to do double pigeon. And this says a lot because my double pigeon isn't the greatest.
And I say that just because I have really tight hips, okay? And the way my femur bones are settled into my hip sockets, my acetabulum, I might not look like the perfect double pigeon or the stacking logs pose. But I'm with you, and if you look like me, we're gonna do it together, but I'll also show you if you look like someone else that does have the perfect stacking, nice and open hips, what they would do as well. So here, you wanna get one shin parallel to the front of your mat, and as you lean back, we're gonna flex the other ankle and let the foot just come over about an inch or two over the knee. Now, quintessentially, you would think this shin, this calf, this lower leg would be on top of this one, right? Stacking logs posed, or that double pigeon, it's called both things. So what we're gonna do is that hopefully someday I will get there. I mean, that's what I'll breathe my way there. Until that day, I'm gonna work on turning my thigh bone. I'm going to externally rotate my thigh bone out. So I'm not going to press on the knee, because it's not the knee's fault why I can't get it down into the arch of the foot. Most likely it's what's going on here in the soft tissue or the bone structure in my hip socket. So I'm just going to work my thigh bone. Right? And I can even do what we did earlier, a little PNF work, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitated stretching, where I'm going to press my knee into my arm and my arm into my knee. I'm going to press, 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 activate, strengthen, and then maybe I can release a little bit, right? So I can hold for counts of 5s, and then release down a little bit more, okay? But eventually with time and patience, okay, I might be able to get this shin on top of that shin and really stacking my lower legs. When I do that, I can sit maybe upright, but eventually those that do have the stacked legs, you can actually fold forward, right? You can just drape yourself over your legs. The more I hold this pose, if I were going to go for it for about 5 minutes, I do notice that sometimes I get a little further. I don't push, I don't force, I breathe. I just stay with myself. I love myself. I have patience with myself. And I know that this is coming from deep in the hip socket and maybe the soft tissue that surrounds it. And I just breathe and I exhale. And I get deeper into the pose. And you can already see I'm getting a little bit deeper, right? I don't force the issue though. I just breathe and let go and exhale and relax. Some of you are folding over because your lower leg, your top leg is stacked on your lower leg. Wherever anyone is, we're going to pause and we're going to inhale to stack the bones of our spine to slowly come out of this. We're going to lean back just to shift the bottom foot down on the floor, and this is that number 4 sensation that we all know and love, right? This is actually in the family of pigeon, and we're going to turn our hands out. And maybe we can tuck our tailbone under like we did in bridge and walk our hips a little closer to our heel. This might not be for you. You might not be able to walk your hips closer to your heel. But here, we're still opening the hips, and we're going to puff up our chest. We're not pressing on a knee, we're really rolling the thigh bone out energetically, and we're pausing, still opening up our hips here. And then with a shoulder roll, right, we can still do like what we did in Dhanurasana and in dancer's pose, keeping the chest open, the heart open. Now to come out of this, we're gonna walk our hands back slowly, release our hips away from our front heel, and then we're gonna slowly straighten the front leg. Staying in the same shape. And again, your knee might be down lower. Feel free to put this foot on the inner thigh for Janusasana, head to knee pose, or keep it where we left off here. It's your choice. We're going to reach the arms up to the ceiling, flexing that front foot. Both of them are actually nice and active. And then we're going to fold over our leg. And here we might need our strap around the foot, or we could just touch our calf or our ankle. But eventually you're going to inhale, look at your toes and stretch. And then exhale, round over your leg. And you can do that a couple of times. Inhale, lengthen, lift, look. And exhale, fold. A few times with dynamic movement. And then you'll do a static stretch. You'll just relax over your leg. Releasing your foot, you'll roll up your spine, front and back spine, nice and active. To come out of this, let's take care of hip and knee. So we're going to take it and let it be a hip motion first. Then we unhinge the knee forward. And then we can shake things up. So good. And then what we're going to do is going to go to the other side. So we're going to allow the other lower leg to come down. And then take the ankle on top. So you notice that my feet are flexed. Okay, like there's 2 walls beside me. I'm stepping on those walls.
right? Shins parallel to the front of your mat space. And this hip could be totally different than the other hip, and you might be already experiencing that sensation of complete differentness, difference. And what we're trying to work is work on balance. So we're trying to open this hip as much as the other one if possible. You can always lean into the opposite side and brace your forearm across the space of your thigh and the calf, because we don't want to press the knee down. Remember, this is coming from the hip socket, and we're rolling the thigh bone out. But we could do some work here of like working against the stretch and then relaxing into the stretch. And you do that much like earlier, where you press down and you press in for a count of 5 with about 15 to 30% of your strength. So you press down, 30 to 50% of your strength. You press down, you press up, and just press for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. You can do that a few times. And you'll notice that by activating the muscles, right, then you're able to maybe to relax them a little bit more. Because eventually we are going to get the knee over here to the arch of the foot. You gotta think someday, if not today. But I'm not gonna force the issue. I'm not gonna just beat myself up to get that knee into the arch of the foot because maybe the person to the left or right of me does. No, I'm gonna take care of my body. How many miles of running did you do, right? How many triathlons and biathlons and centurion bike rides have you done? How many babies have you had, right? We don't know what's going on in these hips. There's a lot of life in our hips, right? So we're just gonna actually ease the thigh bone out. Eventually, maybe the leg gets a little bit lower. And maybe you can be upright with your spine, or you can hinge and fold forward. Just take it easy and you really exhale. The exhales will always relax you. The exhales will always take you a little bit deeper into your pose. It's like you're allowing it to happen versus forcing the issue. Wherever you feel the sensation, just send your breath into that area. See if you can relax a little bit more. You might be folded over your legs. And on an inhale, we're going to stack and come all the way up with our spine. We're going to lean back into our hips. And we're going to shift our right foot or the front foot onto the floor. And we're going to find that figure 4. Your hands, your fingertips are out to either side. You're going to tuck your tailbone under like you did in bridge and lift your hips to bring them closer to your front heel. And then you walk your hands in again so you can puff up your chest. Notice that my ankles are still flexed and my toes are still spread. I have active feet. Lift the ribs, draw the shoulders back and down, and get long from head to tail. Still energetically working the left leg, okay, physically without any pressure. I'm just working my leg over here out. So I'm working in the hip socket. And I'm breathing, because sometimes it can be tight. My left one's a little bit tighter than my right. So I'm sending my breath right into my hip socket and all the soft tissue that supports it. To come out of it, I might lean back a little bit more, right? Send my hips away from my front heel. Walk my hands back so then I can straighten my front leg. And I might have it here where my ankle is over my thigh. If this is uncomfortable in any way, during your Tadasana, I'm going to just put my foot on my inner thigh. Both completely, viable options. What feels good for you right now? And it could be totally different from the other side. From here, I'm going to reach my arms up on the inhale and fold forward, hinge forward, reaching for my foot. And maybe here I need the strap around my foot, or I can touch my ankle or my calf. But I'm going to do some dynamic movement, which means I'm going to inhale, lift my chest to my front toes, and then exhale, fold. A couple of times like that, inhaling, getting more length, and exhale, folding a little bit deeper. And one last time. And folding. Just draping myself over my front leg, relaxing into it. And starting with my tailbone, I'll release my hands and roll up my spine. So slowly. And then I'm going to release. Remember, it's the hip socket first. Then I'll hinge my knee. I can shake things out. Reposition myself. We're going to do Paschimottanasana, where the arms are overhead. I'm going to turn and face the side so you can see my side body. And then I'm gonna send my hips back as my chest comes forward, drawing my shoulders away from my ears. Going long for the duration, or for the most part, here, and I might only come this far. Maybe I need to take my fingertips to the floor. And just like you do in Cobra, draw my elbows and shoulders back to get my ribs forward a little bit more. Maybe this is all you can do with a flat back. Some people can hinge a little bit forward and still keep the length. At some point though, we're gonna go for the rounding sensation, so we'll find a little bit more length on an inhale, and then we can come all the way down on an exhale. This is a great moment where you could actually take a block and put it on your shins, and you can rest your forehead right on the block. A little bit more ease. Otherwise, if you don't need the block, you could always put the block if you want to go for the stretch in front of your feet. Some people like that. Or no block at all, and just draping yourself, passively stretching over your body. To come back, plant your hands closer to your thighs, and come on out, rolling up the spine. Shoulders back and down. For our final pose, there's going to be a couple of choices, okay? Because we have these beautiful bolsters that I have in the shot, and that's actually great restorative pose that you actually lie on the bolster, and I'll show you that opens up the chest and the shoulders. Once again, I'd like to share that if you're at a desk all day long, or you drive for a living, or you do a lot of this shape, even for what you do for your sports, you do a lot of this shape, our pectorals can get tight. And then our chaturangas will actually mimic that same thing. In your chaturanga, this becomes the shape in the chaturanga. Today we did a lot to undo that shape, bring our awareness into more our rib cage and our lower back. And this kind of restorative pose can actually really help out with that continual process. And this is something else you can do every night before you go to bed. After you do your homework, your turbo dogs, maybe some push-ups, holding yourself on the strap in chaturanga, then you can do stuff like this on the bolster. If this is something you don't want to do, you can just lie on your back in in shavasana. You can just lie on your back in shavasana. Or you could actually put legs at the wall. I'm going to show all three options. First, I'll start with the bolster. So we're going to reach for the bolster. We're going to line it up center of the mat. And we're going to do Supta Baddha Konasana, which is a supine bound angle. So your feet will come together and your toes are spread. I'm going to take the bolster and just tuck it right up to the sacrum, and it feels really good, a little bit of that massage. Now, if this doesn't feel good for your legs, you could always cross your legs in Sukhasana, or you could actually have your legs long, okay? All three perfectly good options. So I'm going to go into bound angle and have my feet together. My hands are going to come back onto the bolster, right? Now already I'm opening up through my chest, so I can support myself as I lie down and keep my neck nice and neutral, and I'm going to lie down on the bolster. Pectorals are nice and open. As I roll my shoulders open, I'm going to go in external rotation and allow my palms to come to the ceiling. Some people like to have a little block or a little rolled up towel here underneath the head to stretch out the back of the neck. So if this feels uncomfortable in any way to have your head flat on the bolster, feel free to just put something underneath you for a slight lift. Now this is a great restorative pose. You could hold this 5 minutes, even a little longer. This can be your shavasana. The belly's expanding and contracting, as well as the ribs and the chest. When you want to come out of this, you would always allow your knees to come together. You can stay in this, but I'm going to show on the video 2 other options for shavasana. So when you do want to come out of this, you bring your knees together, and you're just going to roll right off the bolster. And then you can press yourself up using your arm strength, and your head would be the last thing to lift. To come into shavasana, if you still have a bolster or rolled up blanket, a nice supported shavasana would be taking this underneath your knees. Right? So you would roll down here into shavasana. And then you have your knees over a bolster. Another way to come into this would be to be in shavasana, and you realize, oh, you don't like the arc in your lower back, so you would take something and slide it underneath your knees. And that could be a rolled up blanket, or it could be this bolster. And what this does is it allows the lower back to settle into the mat a little bit more. So you're not feeling like you're puffed up through the belly. You can actually allow the sacrum to like slide into the ilium a little bit more, and the lower 5 lumbar vertebrae just to relax onto the floor. Again, you'd roll out your upper arm bones to spread across the collarbones and the chest. The back of your neck is long, and your palms to the ceiling. Don't force the issue here in a chaturanga. You want to be completely relaxed. It's okay if the toes turn out. You have a nice external rotation. Just be comfortable here. Scan your body. And notice where you can soften. Coming back to the breath, the nostrils, the nasal passageways, the back of your throat, chest, ribs, belly, and even your whole body expanding and contracting as you breathe. I'm going to show one more option for resting. But when it's time to come out of this option, you could always even just bend your knees onto the bolster. Even walk the bolster away, massaging your feet. And with the knees bent, you can even give yourself a hug. And again, you'd roll to one side. A lot of times it's nice to roll to the right side so your heart can stay lifted up in the left side of your chest. And once again, you're going to press into your hands to let your head be the last thing to lift, to come out of that pose. The last restorative pose I'm going to show today is going to be legs up the wall pose. For legs up the wall, one of the easiest ways to do this is to have one hip nestled next to the wall. Plant your hands behind you, and as you turn, you can lift your legs up the wall. This prevents a lot of the scooching up to the wall if you start from way out there. So if you put one hip, and then you can just swing your legs up. Here again, we're going to soften across the collarbones, roll the shoulders out, palms to the ceiling. If you'd like, you could take a bit of a bolster. Sometimes bolsters can be too high, so just maybe a rolled up blanket. If you bend your knees, tuck your tailbone under like we did in bridge, lift your hips up and just slide the blanket underneath you for a little lift of the hips higher than the ribs. Just a little lift. This might offer you a little bit more ease in the pose. If this is uncomfortable in any way, you can just always bend your knees, put your feet on the wall, tuck your tailbone under, lift your hips, and then just remove and lower back down. This is a great pose to do at the end of every day because we're always trying to pull the deoxygenated blood back up to the heart, and we're trying to do that with the muscles of the legs and the veins. We're trying to really pull the blood back up to the heart, and we're usually doing that against gravity. So this is a great practice just to allow the blood to flow back up to the heart region with ease. When it's time to come out of this pose, you can slide your feet down, bring your hands to your heart, even reach one arm over your head to roll over once again to one side. Letting your head be heavy as you press up. And even at the wall, sometimes the wall is so nice to use as a meditation prop. You can actually use the wall to support your spine. Wherever you are, whatever restorative ending pose you chose for your practice, you're going to slowly bring yourself together, roll to the right, and come up to a cross-legged seated position. Take your time. Take a moment here to breathe in and out through your nose. Your eyes are closed. We've come full circle in our practice. Maybe you know some changes, some shifts, body, mind, heart, and even in your spirit at the end of practicing yoga. How do you feel? Notice where your breath can go now. Maybe it couldn't go there when you first landed on the mat. Maybe you feel stronger, maybe more supple. Maybe you feel smarter. Sometimes I like to say even more sexier after practicing yoga. Here at the end of the practice, though, we're going to take a moment to honor ourselves, honor our path, draw our hands to our heart space. We're going to do lotus flower mudra. So we're going to take the heels of our hands together, our pinkies to touch, our thumbs to touch, but our fingers are spread wide like a blossoming lotus right here in front of our heart space. This is a great symbol, this mudra. It's a symbol of expressing and shining bright here on this earth. So as the mind is quiet and the agitation of the body has eased, we dive within and we hear what's in our heart. What is in our heart to express here on this earth? And whatever you hear in there, you kind of just deposit it into the symbol in front of your heart space. And then that which is your gift within your heart, you shine it so bright. That which is the truth within your heart, you shine it so bright. And then for balance, left and right hand will meet equally, Anjali Mudra for balance. Ha, Tha, sun, moon, the yang and the yin inside of us, those energies balanced. And we bring our hands up to our third eye, thinking so many good thoughts. And our hands to our lips, speaking such good thoughts, such good words. And then our hands at our heart, feeling them, feeling those good thoughts, those good words deep in our hearts. I thank you so much for letting me serve you. I thank you so much for supporting us in writing our book and getting it out there, The Perfect Chaturanga. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. The light within me honors the light within you. Namaste.